Hello and welcome everybody to a mini edition of the Ballers Across the Pond Divisional Round Preview. So if anybody hasn't seen it, our Wildcard Weekend review is now up on YouTube, so please check that out. And now we'll get down to the matter of these games. Boys, there's a lot to get through. It's 4 very nice matchups, 4 juicy ones for us to go through. So are you guys looking forward to it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the matchups are all good. The teams that are left have a lot of firepower. They're very balanced in that they can do things offensively and defensively. It's good to see like the young guns in this as well as people we expected to be here. But yeah, no, I think I actually think this round is probably going to decide who's going to win it all, because
As
some
well as
teams are going
teams
to get
actually have
eliminated.
been here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think if certain chips fall, like if we get any upsets, that could be the decider. You know, because we know certain teams that have the potential to go the whole way, and then they're just waiting on whoever's going to be on the opposite side. So if we get an upset, it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait.
It's an interesting one, and without further ado, I just want to get straight to it. First game of the week, Houston traveling up to Baltimore. Now, CJ Stroud coming off a week where he lit the world on fire, but now he's going away from home into the Lions' den because this Ravens defense, they are mean.
Yeah,
and they get after
top to bottom. Every level of that defense, they play team football, and offensively as well. They're explosive, punishing run game. This is going to be like a real test for CJ Stroud. And here's the thing: I love both these quarterbacks. I think they're both great. If CJ was playing any other guy, I'd be rooting for CJ, but I want Lamar to get his. In terms of how that's going to happen, though, that's going to be interesting.
So, do you know the odds in this game?
No, what are they?
Over under of only 43.5, so not expected to be high scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And 9.5 point favourites for the Ravens. They're not giving Houston a chance in this game.
Yeah, because they're not playing at home with the crowd support.
I hear that, but ultimately I think the Ravens will take this, but I wouldn't be surprised like if this is the game where, you know, the CJ hype train gets stomped, you know, he turns back into a pumpkin. It's probably going to be this game against this defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does a few things.
Give CJ a bit more credit. Pumpkin, you know, like, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he turns back to like a mere mortal, you know what I mean? Let's just call him.
Are you basically? Are you saying he's Cinderella at the ball? And
no, he's not Fitz Magic or anything like that. He's Hercules, all right. He's a demigod right now. So just like in that film, the Disney film, you know, when Hercules becomes a god again, you know, I think he might lose a little bit of that luster in this game against this.
There's a chance this game is more defensive than offensive, and it's just that the Ravens defense are just that suffocating.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, Baltimore's defense, quite frankly, the Browns had a top defense, like we said previously, and the problem was the Browns' defense away from home was suspect. Baltimore's defense is all round, so even if it's away from home, they're all round basically, and they have playmakers on their defense. Now, last week, I mean, I've seen discussions on Twitter and about PFF. They've been having a bit of back and forth about how they graded CJ Stroud and Jordan Love over the past couple of weekends, with Jordan Love being rated higher and CJ had a 77.8 PFF, and people didn't understand that. They explained it, and I explained it when we broke the game down, that although CJ had the same numbers, CJ, the Browns should have had 2 INTs, which they dropped it. that middle of the field pass that he threw into the safety cells and he dropped it. Kyle Hamilton's not going to drop that because the Ravens have opportunity. They have ball hawks on their defense. That if CJ makes mistakes, they're going to punish him. So I'm sure he's learning from that, and he'll try to play mistake-free football. But I think the Ravens are opportunistic at that, and also I don't think Lamar will turn the ball over as easily as Joe Flacco did.
Do you know an interesting stat? What do you think the Ravens' average rushing yards per game?
Over 100 for sure.
I was gonna say between like 80 and 100.
156 yards per game.
Ooh.
They run the football,
so they're clearing 100 each time. Yeah, but they commit to the run, and that's their style. Like the only way I think the Ravens potentially lose this game is if like they're not a very come from behind team. They're a lot like the 49ers. Like if you get a lead on them, then they find it hard to sort of work their way back. But I don't think that lead's going to happen. Both QBs are kind of missing their favorite targets. I think is it Mark Andrews might not play. I think they're keeping that very tight-lipped. Realistically, if you ask me, I don't think he will play because if we remember how he got injured, I don't think he popped back from that. I think he's more of a like he's getting the defensive coordinators to sort of double think every round of this playoff game. Do we need to plan for Mark Andrews or not? That's going to take away time rather than them planning for someone else. And on the other side, with CJ, Tank Dell's obviously out. So he's been out for a while now, and he's obviously shut down for the rest of the year. So he's not at optimal offensive playmakers on the outside. So it'll be interesting.
100%. I mean, the thing is, yes, Mark Andrews is a factor, but they've got a very good backup plan as they're likely. Who's also.
Have you seen the game? So if you look at the games that the Ravens lost this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Cleveland Browns, they lost to the Steelers, and they lost an overtime game to the Colts. I'm not counting the final week because that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, they lost 3 games, and the last one was just a gimme loss.
What was the score at the end of that? Because did the teams have like a noticeable lead over them?
No, so Cleveland Browns was only 2 points in it. Steelers was 7 points. That was a peculiar game, and Colts went to overtime.
Well, Steelers is like a rivalry game, so that's just one of those things. Like
2 divisional games and a game against the Colts, where the games against the Colts have been wild the last couple of years.
I mean, now's the worst time for the Ravens to lay an egg. I think they're zoned in right now. I don't think that's going to happen. They're too well-oiled right now. They know who they are. They're not going to make those mistakes. They know what's at stake. And it's a good test for them as well. It's a good test for them. If they come out of here with a win, it's going to keep them sharp. And that's my pick, the Ravens to win this game. Not by much. I think it's going to be, I really want to say 1-score game, but I think that's too disrespectful to Lamar. I'm going to say two score.
To put it this way, so funnily enough, this evening, just before we started recording, we watched some of Oppenheimer, right? And my brother was like, we must watch some tonight and some tomorrow night because on Saturday I'm going to be absolutely breaking it watching his team. Because it's been so long. This is the most he's been invested. He wasn't as invested in the Ravens back when they won it last, right? Under Joe Flacco at the helm.
Yeah.
This is a long time since he's fully invested in the team, and I just don't see anyone but the I see the Ravens going through to the next round and then them having a really fun game against either Kansas or Buffalo.
Yeah,
I think for me the key for the Ravens. Excuse me. I also see them winning because I think Lamar is key, and I think one of the things that I've seen this season that's been very impressed by Lamar is that he's played very balanced this year. As in, like,
It's not overtly on the run. He runs when he needs
exactly.
to.
So that's what I'm saying. He's played very balanced as a quarterback. So he's almost played like the total package of a quarterback, like run when you need to, and also pass when you need to pass. So that is the key for the Ravens winning this game for me. And I think I agree with you. Baltimore will win because Lamar has been so balanced this season.
Although, how many rushing yards do you think he has?
I don't know, maybe definitely over 500.
He's their leading rusher.
Well, Baltimore's leading rusher.
Yeah.
He is their
How
leading rusher.
many yards?
821 yards.
And
Well, I'm
he's
not
kept
surprised
himself
by that
upright and
because
healthy.
and
And
also
do you
I
know
think
do you know who's second? Got the Gus Bus with 810.
Gus Bradley.
Gus Edwards,
Gus,
I
Gus
think
Edwards, yeah.
it's not only just Edwards though, because I think this season they went more like
Well, they've got
back.
Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell obviously got
Exactly.
injured, and that had an
So I think
impact.
they've sort of like mixed their run game. They've got some backs in there that runs a bit, so they haven't really had like a staple back. I think, and it's such a shame that this guy has had injuries in back-to-back seasons. Um, their main running back, what's his name? I forgot his name again.
Yeah,
Dobbs.
J.K.
I
Dobbs.
can't remember his first
J.K.
name. Yeah,
Dobbins.
Yeah,
he's actually very
Dobbins. Yeah,
talented.
It's
As a
just
running back,
yeah.
I've
just
seen
when
it,
you
but
have
Unfortunately, he's had
we're
back-to-back.
just never going to be able to necessarily see it. But he is a very good back from the short amount we've seen. Very explosive, really good feet. He's kind of like the
So I
complete
feel for
package as a
him though
running back, which is annoying.
because they could potentially win the Super Bowl in a
Mm,
season whereby he would have had such a huge impact on it.
mm.
Yep, most definitely so. So all of us are saying for this game, Baltimore win. Now, let's not completely discount the Houston Texans. I just think that Baltimore's just got too much for them offensively.
For me, I think defensively, Baltimore has too much pieces for CJ to carve up, especially in the playoffs. If he does
it could well be a very
stay.
close game. That's the thing.
True.
It could well be a very close game. All right, let's move on to the Saturday night game. And Green Bay traveling up to San Francisco. Now, this is a doozy, for sure, because Jordan Love played well. It's a Shanahan disciple against Shanahan.
Shanahan disciple, yeah. The hottest coaching tree right now. Proven track record.
What do you boys think is the key to this one? Because is it Jordan Love maintaining this kind of low risk game that he played like last week? There was no risk because he had wide open holes, but San Fran's not going to allow him to have that.
Yeah, no, San Francisco is not that type of defense. They will lock you up. They play team defense and they can pass rush as well. Dallas weren't really able to get any pressure on Jordan Love in the week just gone, and I think that would have been a big part to sort of shifting the tide in their direction. The 49ers though won't have that issue, and I think Jordan Love, when under pressure, we'll see like if he can sort of keep up and perform like he did in the week just gone, and I don't think that's going to be the case. You know, as a complete team, you know they're not going to make mistakes on offense. That is literally Brock Purdy's MO. Like, he's not going to turn over the ball, or even if he does, it's definitely going to be a forced or
the
defense making a big play.
Speaking on that, this is a game where he's had his kind of rookie moments this season where he's thrown,
that was one way through 3 INTs.
This is a game that he can't afford to do it, and hopefully for him, he's got that out of his system and he's learned from that.
I think the biggest thing is for him to finish the game, because last year the most important game he got knocked out, and we don't know how the result of 10 if he had played the whole game.
Well, we've got
So
Sam
that
Darnold there, so and Sam Darnold looked all right.
Sam Darnold's not
Big
as good as Brock Purdy.
body.
Come on now,
Yeah, I know,
it's
but
not here.
He's got. You
I don't know
have
if
an
Shanahan
obsession
is using
with.
him. I don't know if Shanahan's using him as like trade bait, but Shanahan is saying, "Yeah, this guy's good." Like, he's
Well,
trying to.
okay, so you gotta stop your obsession with backup quarterbacks, okay?
It's not.
He
I mean,
does.
I think Sam Darnold. I
You
like
gotta
Sam
stop.
Darnold, man. I like Sam
Alright.
Darnold.
You've gone from Gardner Minshew to Sam Darnold.
I'm still
You
on
always
Gardner
have like a backup quarterback favorite or something like that. But here's the thing, though. Okay, so for me, the key to the 49ers winning this game, and I believe they'll win this game, is don't change what got you there.
Yeah.
The Cowboys did, and they paid for it.
Use
The 49ers, their
CMC,
primary. Exactly.
use Ayuk, and
Mixing
and
some
if
Debo runs if the game is not going
and the
well,
thing
and
is,
you need to break it.
if they get Ayuk going early, then that'll free, and Debo will become so destructive.
Yeah.
Because he's had some monster games towards the end of the season.
Yeah, he can close out a game. So Debo's going to be your closer. Like if you get a good lead fast, like if you get like a 3-point lead, 2-point lead, and a field goal, then that means Debo's going to be your closer. Like it's high percentage throws. He's not going to fumble. It's basically a handoff, really, and get tackled inbounds, let the clock run out. And I don't think Jordan Love is great when he has a lead, but I don't think he's that good playing from behind, especially against a defense like this. And they're not going to fall for it. Both of these head coach and coordinator, they kind of know each other's style. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few wrinkles in there.
It's essentially the same scheme, but obviously Shanahan is the master schemer because the scheme is off his scheme and he modifies his scheme a lot. And the way, for me, primarily the 49ers defense, you've been a zone defense all year. Don't go and switch it up and try and play man because then you're going to lose. Play your zone defense with your pass rush coming from Chase Young, Nick Bosa, rushing your 4 guys, play your zone defense, and that will see you through. Jordan Love could throw a pick or two. I think both young quarterbacks have been outstanding the week before, but I think this weekend might be a little bit of too much of a challenge for both.
Would you
Stroud
say
and Love? But I wouldn't rule out an upset from either because they're full of confidence right now and they're hot.
Would you say, because there's been some people saying Jordan Love is better than Brock Purdy when it comes
we'll
to
see in this game, innit?
when it comes to like his overall ceiling, because this could be obviously Brock
We'll
Purdy has a
see.
very average to mid ceiling, but they
Jordan
say
Love
Jordan Love at the
be.
top end, Jordan Love should be better. So
Well,
this is.
okay,
I don't think it's going to be the deciding
Okay,
factor in this game, but it might later
Peter,
on.
if you just if I mind interjecting before you bring your thought, Jordan Love should be further ahead in his progression because he is he's a couple years. He's a couple years beyond that, right? He's in his 4th season.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's in his 2nd.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he should, but when you look at the teams and the rosters, right? We know Purdy's got a better roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball, more than Love at the moment. So, based on that, you expect better performance. But then at the same time, what I do say is that the offense that they both play in, Love has superior talent and could have a better career in terms of the natural, or maybe might have better numbers. But Purdy might end up with a better career because that system doesn't require a quarterback to have a big arm.
Yeah.
Joe Montana played in that system. He didn't have a strong arm, but he was the GOAT before Tom Brady became the GOAT QB.
I don't know about Purdy's arm strength. That's the thing. I actually don't know because we don't see him need to unleash one.
No,
but that's the thing. Because of the system, you don't need to. But they're gonna
also
but
not just a system. When you hand the ball off to CMC and he gets 4 or 5 yards after contact, why do you need to sling the ball?
Exactly, that opens it up. But there's going to be there's always a time that comes at a point in time that extra arm strength becomes needed. Like, for example, the Chiefs, right? The Kansas City Chiefs. There's a reason why Andy Reid traded up from 27th all the way to number 10 to snatch
Get my
Mahomes
homeboys.
because Andrew Reid realized there's going to be a time whereby my scheme, the defense could have the perfect answer, but how we get past it is because he's going to uncock. Excuse my language. He's going to unwind his arm and throw a very unstoppable ball, and that's why big arm quarterbacks are chosen sometimes for that extra thing. It won't be needed in this game, I don't think. But hopefully, it's like when you get to the Super Bowl and those kind of things, that's where sometimes
Do,
it's needed.
do you know
But
what?
it's
But
not
Do you know
he'll
needed
what?
because of the
eventually
system.
have to make a
When
big.
you
He's
look at
gonna
this team, actually, right? You look at the pieces they have. They don't utilize any of them in that way. Even if they have, like they are get the player the ball and let him work his magic.
Yeah, because the system is built up a lot of yuck. Like receivers has to be able to have a yuck yardage. Like
Yeah.
all the 49ers receivers are excellent yards after the catch. Receivers and running backs, and that's a big part of the system. You have to be able to essentially, if you're a receiver in a Shanahan system or a tight end, you have to be able to create yards after you catch the ball, and that's what the system is built off of. Become a running back essentially after you catch the ball, like 10, 15 yards.
And there's a guy in that we haven't even mentioned yet, George Kittle.
Yep.
He could have a big game too.
And the thing is, he is also utterly destructive.
Pick your poison.
If you look at it, Debo's had what, 3? He had 1, 2, 300-yard games this season, right? So they used him less generally. Kittle had the same 300-yard games. Ayuk had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ayuk had 7. Like when I was saying, Ayuk has come up and shown himself to be the guy. He is in the final year of his, of his contract, rookie contract.
He's getting his money. He's such an important part of that offense, and it's really good to see. Like they don't have to draft an offensive skill position. Like that need is essentially removed because they can build through depth with what they have, and because all of those guys are interchangeable. You can line Debo outside. You can line McCaffrey outside. Of course, he's not going to be as effective as a pure receiver.
He is.
But
He's got the hands of a receiver.
He's got the hands, but he's very good. So you can move people around. So, like I said, you don't have to draft anyone off in terms of offensive skill positions, which makes drafting a little bit easier because now you can focus on other things, offensive line. You don't need to worry about quarterbacks. You can focus on offensive line and defense. It makes things, and their defense is already pretty loaded. You don't need linebackers. You don't need, they're pretty much, I think, the perfect.
His DBs has mainly been their Achilles heel over the last few years, and they've been better this year.
And even that is sort of like really nitpicky because those guys play sound defense, like they play team defense, a lot like the Ravens. They have individual stars, but they play together as a team.
As a cohesive unit.
This is going to be one of those games. I think the 49ers are too good. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Jordan Love play well, but I can't picture them winning this. Like, I think the 49ers are the kind of like the team of destiny. Like they feel as though they were robbed last year, mainly down to injury. If they had a healthy Brock Purdy, things would have been different. And I think they've set a beeline from the start of the season until now to get back to exactly where they were. But this time they're going to finish it. So I'm going with the 49ers.
They were a very definition of a reload season.
Yep.
All right. Peter, you're going with the 49ers win as well, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. All right. Moving on to big one. Well, not actually the 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel into Detroit. Can we find ourselves having the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game next week?
I think that's what everyone wants. I think everyone wants to see the Lions finally get their piece, play in a championship game. They've come back to relevance in a pretty big way. They built themselves up the old school way. They've given their head coach Dan Campbell time, and he's finally got them there. This is what you like. This is the dream scenario for any fan base, to see a team develop and grow. You've got young players on that team, and they have a fairly young roster across the board, and they're playing so well. Against the Bucks, I think the Bucks obviously ran into like a wounded a wounded Philadelphia Eagles team, and I think they managed to get one up on us.
Self-wounded?
I think at that point we were just like a lame team. We had no business.
If you were playing at your best.
We should have not been there to begin with anyway, seeing how we play. And I think that sort of gave them the edge. And obviously,
even with AJ Brown, the Bucks still would have beaten you.
Yeah. But I also think that their luck runs out now because they're fighting a team that's firing on all cylinders.
So they have already played each other this season.
Yep.
They played each other in October. Lions won 20 points to 6. It wasn't even high scoring.
Yeah. The Bucks offense didn't do anything.
Yeah, the Bucks offense didn't really do anything. Baker was 19 for 37, 206. 1 interception. They couldn't run the ball. Couldn't pass the ball. You look at the Lions on the other side. Goff, 30 for 44, 2 touchdowns. Neither team could run the ball actually in this game, to be fair. But the difference was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they also had Jameson Williams get a touchdown. So do we see the key to this? So if you look at this particular game, do we see it be kind of following the same way? Do we think the Lions are that much of a favourites, or do you think, based upon last week's performance, Tampa will have a little bit more in them compared to last time around?
I think Tampa may not have expected to get through this round, but I think they knew going into the Eagles game and seeing us, they were like, we have a real chance to win this, and they actually won. But I think going against the Lions, it's different. I think Goff is he now knows he belongs, and he's going to play with a different type of confidence. Like, he's basically trying to almost rewrite the books. He's been deep into the playoffs before, but now he's looking to sort of go and take that next step and say, hey, I couldn't do it with my first team, but I'm going to prove everyone wrong, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this team there again. So I think that extra bit of confidence is really going to shine through in how he plays. So it's not necessarily risk taking, but I definitely see him going for more explosive plays with players that can receive the ball. So he's not only going to be sort of mailing the ball, but he's going to be extra aggressive offensively. And I don't think the Bucks are kind of prepared for that. I think Baker Mayfield, though he's had an awesome season, I don't think this is the type of game, like if Detroit go into a lead early,
do you know what the thing is?
I don't think Baker's going to be able to work his way back.
My only caveat to that is Detroit's defensive side, in terms of passing yards per game, the 27th in the league, allowing. Tampa are 29th. Right?
Yep.
But both of them against the run, Detroit's the second best in the league, and Tampa's the 5th best.
Okay.
The difference is that Tampa can't run the ball, Detroit can, and Detroit are so strong in the passing game. That could be the difference in this game. That because of the real strength of Detroit's team is their ability to put points up, because they've got so many playmakers.
Yeah, that's true. Here's the thing. Todd Bowles, is one of the best defensive minds in the game. And against the Eagles, he took the one thing that your offense could always rely on, which was the run game. he took away your run game, and he dared Jalen Hurts to beat him through the air, and Jalen Hurts couldn't do it.
Because
He's gonna do the
they're
same.
stacked up. They put 6 men in the
Exactly.
They're
That's
stacked
his
up.
style,
He's,
though.
he's,
That's his style. He did that
that's
against
what I'm
Tom
saying.
Brady as well. He will take one, like he will completely nullify one aspect of your offense completely.
Exactly. So in this game, both teams are good against the run. So like Dilly said, the run game, I wouldn't expect much from the run game from both sides. Like the Lions had success running the ball against the Rams last week. They're not gonna have that much success running the ball against the Bucks defense because Vita Vea is back, and
But
he himself is a huge part
Mm.
of their
so
run defense.
yeah,
So it's going to come down to the
uh-huh.
passing game, which I think the Lions will have an urge. But then at the same time, the reason why me personally I'm leaning the Bucks in an upset is because Baker spread the ball around last week, which was very efficient for the Buccaneers in terms of their offense, the ball being spread around. And a key matchup for me for this game is Aiden Hutchinson versus Tristan Wirfs. Last week, Wirfs allowed zero pressures, zero sacks. He was a brick wall against any pass rusher your Eagles could throw at him. Reddick, whoever, he stopped it. So can Aiden Hutchinson, who had 2 sacks last week, continue to have a positive impact and put pressure and be able to? The one thing that Aiden Hutchinson also has that other pass rushers, none of your Eagles pass rushers had, is he's relentless. He never stops. He keeps coming. So that makes it for a very interesting matchup this weekend.
Mm,
he
I
is an
agree.
elite pass rusher. You don't rate him to that level, do you think? Is that what you were saying?
No, it's more of like Pete insinuating that my my defensive linemen at the Eagles don't always try and keep coming. You know, I think they definitely have that aspect.
I think what
Yeah,
it was is, don't forget, you had Hassan Reddick dropping into pass coverage, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
And he's the elite sack maker for that team.
Yeah,
So
Joe Desai. Yep, definitely. You're backpedaling, really? You want me to go backwards? Yeah, it's all part of the plan.
if we I just maybe I'm wrapped up in Detroit mania or anything like that, but you just look at if I look at we look at the offensive pieces and say they take away the running game, both teams take away the running game, it's down to the pass, right?
Yep.
Running backs, both of the running backs are capable of more Jameer Gibbs than David Montgomery, but they're both capable of receiving. Rashad White had a few drops last week. Now, if that continues, that could be a massive stumbling block. But then, I think having a wild card player like Jameson Williams, who can just completely tear the top off the team, the defensive side, and Goff can unleash one all the way to him.
Yeah.
And if that's not free, safety blanket. He will target Sam Laporta like mad. Laporta wasn't on the field as much as he normally would be because obviously everyone thought he wasn't even going to play. And then he has the real safety blanket of Amon Ra because he has the ability just to be free most of the time and even catch the ball in traffic.
St. Brown for you.
Do you think that the Lions have an edge over the Bucks in terms of offensive pieces, slightly, or am I overestimating?
I just think they're further along regards to how they run their offense. I think they know their identity, and I think they can rely on Jared Goff to take over the game. I don't think they'll need him to, but if they need him to make those big plays, he's going to make more big plays than Baker. You know, Baker, I think, is good, serviceable. He's done really well, but I still think he's still getting to know this offense. Remember, this is his first year under this offense, right? So there's some things that he's still discovering. And I think Goff, this is what, year 2 for him now in this team, or year 3 with
This is
Detroit?
year 3.
Year 3. So, and they haven't changed offensive coordinators in that time. So I think he sort of knows all the nooks and crannies. He knows where to go if the defense gives him certain looks. But like Pete said, Todd Bowles is very good. He will take away one thing, or sometimes he might take away one player, you know, and then force Goff to sort of work his way around the field. I just think with having more, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. He's had more experience under center for this team, and he can run his offense, a lot better than Baker Mayfield can. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
I think
So
if you look at
Detroit to win it.
Yeah, if you look at my last stat nugget of the day, you look at Goff in his Super Bowl run.
Mm.
In the regular season, he was 32 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And this year, he's 30 and 12. He looks after the ball. They have a very good chance of going all the way. Again, granted with a different team.
Yep.
So I'm picking Detroit.
I'm picking the Bucks in an upset. I feel like Baker is on a run right now, and the chip is still on his shoulder. So I think I'm picking the Bucks. And listen, I want the Lions to win, but I can see it's the only game I can see an upset. So I'm just gonna go with the upset.
All right. Well, the next game that we're talking about is Bills Chiefs. I don't think there's a favourite in this one.
Yep.
No, there isn't.
You're splitting hairs as to who's going to win this game.
You're right.
If I look at who should win this game, Buffalo should be winning this game because they have receivers who can catch the ball. But I just think Spags is just too much and he'll cause Josh Allen to make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, this Kansas City Chiefs team.
I'm kind of like between a rock and a hard place in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I love Pat Mahomes, but I think defensively, I know they're going to be. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
man.
we can hear you.
Yep.
Well,
I think. Yeah. So I think this Chiefs defensive team can get the job done against Buffalo, but I don't. I think this is the game. You know, I think Pete, you brought this up earlier on. Like Patrick Mahomes is great; he's legendary. But I think they've underestimated the importance of making sure that you have a few pieces, a few weapons that are always going to be there. Travis Kelce's getting old now. I think this is probably like his last. I can see it being his last 2-3 seasons max, and that's pushing it. You know, I don't see him playing for a lot longer. So at some point, I think this is the off season where they're going to have to sort of reboot and realize we need to draft guys because it's not enough. They can't rely on Patrick Mahomes' talent to sort of carry them all the way. And this could be the game where they find that out the hard way. I think it's going to be close, right? And I hate going up against Pat Mahomes, but I'm going to say Buffalo are going to take this. It sounds absurd, right? Because we're always making fun of the Buffalo Bills underperforming. But I think they've managed to sort of recoup their season and build an identity. They're playing with confidence. Josh Allen just needs to not play any hero ball and make any dumb plays. He's beyond that now. Just look after the ball.
He's gonna throw one arm. He's gonna throw one arm punt, and whether or not it gets caught or not, that may be a deciding factor in the game.
He's gonna give him one at some point. The Chiefs just gotta be ready.
I think what it is I saw the Bills player early on this season. I saw them lose to the Jags, and what we saw was there was no from an offensive point of view, offensive coordinator point of view, they were setting up Josh Allen to fail because he was incompetent at that point in that game. We saw it. We couldn't believe some of the play calling. We were sat with sat next to somebody who was from Buffalo, and all of us were aghast. Like we couldn't believe how they threw the game away because of just bad play calling. They can't do that against this. I don't see them doing that against Kansas because they seem to have got their act together.
Well, I think it wasn't after that game that they switched offensive coordinator. Remember, they fired the offensive coordinator mid-season, and then they started winning more games because the offense was more balanced. After they fired that offensive coordinator, they started winning, and that kind of turned their season around a bit, and they started winning more games after that. Here's the thing. I would have gone with Buffalo if this game was in Buffalo.
It is in Buffalo.
But this is it in Buffalo?
It is in Buffalo. Don't forget, Kadarius Toney is the reason why this game is in Buffalo.
Okay. So this is the first time Mahomes is going on the road in a playoff game. Apparently in the divisional round. Because most of his divisional run has been at home. This is a game whereby if Mahomes don't win it, it will start to build a narrative. And we already know the narrative if Buffalo was to lose at home to Kansas City. This is as good as a chance Buffalo's ever had to beat Kansas City in the playoffs because they are home.
It's his first ever away game.
Away game in the playoffs, okay. So for me, the key to Buffalo winning is this. Oftentimes we don't put a lot of emphasis on the crowd, but that stadium needs to be rocking. Buffalo fans need to show up, and they need to have it rocking whenever Mahomes is on offense. It needs to be as loud as possible, because I think the Chiefs found something Rashid Rice last week with his 108 to 130 yards of catches. And between him and Kelsey, they might have some production there. Key for the Chiefs is to keep running the football. Because I think last week, Andrew Reid committed to running the football. They ran the ball 24 times. More times, but they ran the ball over 30 times with Hilaire and Pacheco. So commitment to the run game was a key for the Chiefs. It's a tight one for me in terms of picking which team needs to win. I think Josh Allen has great of a chance, but the Chiefs' defense is just playing so well right now that, especially their defensive backs, their corners and L'Jarius Sneed and
I'm gonna say it. Stephon Diggs has to show up. He has to show that he's the guy because I haven't seen enough from him.
He has to. He has to show that he's the guy. So this is gonna be a tough matchup. It could be one of those coin flip matchups. Originally, I thought the game was in KC, but since it's in Buffalo, I'm gonna
I still say Mahomes is gonna win, but that's my choice.
I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna go Buffalo. I think Josh finally gets a win over my homeboy in this instance. And for me, it's with a caveat though. I'm gonna go with Buffalo, but the key to this game will be turnovers. Can Josh only commit one turnover? If Josh turns the ball over twice or three times, either via fumbles or INTs, KC will win the game.
Turnovers win games. That's a given, right? Generally, but arm punts are a little bit different because they're basically him pinning them deep.
But in the playoffs, a lot of crazy things happen in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, Russell Wilson threw 3 interceptions, but the Seahawks still beat the Packers. And it wasn't supposed to happen. So you see, hey, crazy things happen in the playoffs. And
Well,
for me,
mhm.
I feel this is a time for Buffalo because if they don't beat Mahomes, because we all know what's going to happen in the offseason. His wide receiving core are going to get so much better. So this is a chance.
This
So
is
like a
a
wake
little
up,
window
the
of
key to the
opportunity.
game, Dilly, you mentioned it earlier. The Diggs need to show up big time. Like I'm talking about one of those 150 yards, touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Just it's time.
To quote Buffer, it's time. Well, who's your prediction to win this one?
I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
So I'm lone wolfing on the Chiefs on this one.
Yeah.
All right.
Could go either way.
Defense wins championships. That's the way I see it.
Yes,
But yeah, there we have it. Our little preview show of the 4 games this weekend. We'll catch everybody for the review next week. And until then, goodbye from myself. Goodbye from Peter and Will, and we'll catch
Yes, sir.
everybody on the flip side.